Yesterday, the new Overwatch patch hit the live servers with a lot of buffs, some nerfs and even a new hero. I'm C5 from the Beefy Smash Dudes, and let's take a look at the biggest changes Blizzard made and how they might affect the metagame. First of all, of course, the new hero Ana has been released. She is a support sniper with some really cool abilities, but we might even make a whole video on her, so stay tuned for that. Now for the actual patch notes. Let's start off with general changes, the biggest of which is that in competitive play there is now a one hero limit. This means that every hero can only be picked once per team. This rule was in discussion ever since the game was released, and many competitive players were upset about the possible stacking of one hero. Some tournaments even used a one hero limit long before this patch or even ranked matches in Overwatch existed. Blizzard says, ultimately we found that we agreed with a lot of the community's feedback and believe that hero stacking is making the game less fun for competitive players. And I gotta say, I was never that much against hero stacking, but Blizzard probably made the right choice here and the community will probably also be satisfied. In quick play you can still pick the same hero as often as you like. Next, Blizzard made some changes to the overtime mechanic. If a match goes into overtime for more than 20 seconds, the fuse will now start to burn down more quickly and players also respawn more slowly during overtime. This is a very good change in my opinion, since overtime could get dragged out for so long and become extremely annoying in some cases. Now let's look into the hero balancing updates. First of all, self-healing abilities now charge ultimate abilities. This is a change for many heroes, and as a result their ultimate costs, that's the amount it takes to charge the ultimate, has been adjusted. This includes Bastion, whose ultimate cost has been increased by 10%, Lucio by 10%, Soldier 76 by 10% and Roadhog by 45%. It's hard to tell just from the numbers how much this will actually affect the game, but Blizzard probably tried to keep the ultimate charge rates roughly the same, so it's not really a big deal. D.Va finally got the promised buff. She received by far the most changes in this patch. Her defense matrix has been reworked completely. Its cooldown has been decreased to 1 second and a resource meter has been added. This meter depletes while defense matrix is active and recharges when it's not in use. Basically, you can now put up the defense matrix whenever you need it and you barely have any cooldown on it. A fully charged resource meter depletes after 4 seconds and takes 10 seconds to recharge. But you can interrupt the charge whenever you want to just use the defense matrix again. This gives D.Va much more freedom and possibilities. It is in my opinion a huge change and will make D.Va much more viable in the game. But that's not all. Her self-destruct also got buffed. Her ultimate cost got decreased by 15%, it only takes 3 instead of 4 seconds to explode, and it doesn't damage D.Va herself anymore. Again, this will greatly increase D.Va's success rate. 1 second less to escape can just make the difference in many cases. D.Va will probably be picked much more often now. She will absorb many more ultimates and get many more eliminations with her own ultimate. Moving on, ZENYATTA also received quite some buffs. His base shields got increased by 50, which now adds up to a total of 200 health points. 50 health and 150 shield. And while 50 doesn't seem like a lot, remember that it's not normal health. Shields are extremely useful, and if you think about it, ZENYATTA is now more tanky than most of the other squishy heroes in the game who share the same amount of total HP, 200, but without 75% of it being shields. His primary fire weapon damage has been decreased from 45 to 40 and his alternate fire weapon damage has been increased from 35 to 40. I think this is not a big deal for him. His damage output was already pretty high, and with him not being the squishiest hero in the game anymore, plus the other buffs he received, this is probably a necessary adjustment. The projectile speed of his orbs of discord and harmony have been increased from 30 to 120, so they are basically attached to their target almost instantly. This is more of a quality of life change, but if we want to be exact, the less travel time of the orbs actively increases the time spent on healing allies or potentially increasing incoming damage on opponents, so it definitely is a buff. ZENYATTA's ultimate, Transcendence, also got buffed. While activated, ZENYATTA's movement speed is doubled and the healing amount of the ult got increased from 200 to 300 health per second. Again, some small buffs, nothing too special in my opinion. I guess the speed buff kinda makes sense since ZENYATTA is meant to stay in the backline far away from any danger, but his ultimate forces him to move into the middle of the action. Before the patch, ZENYATTA was the least played hero in the game, but I'm pretty sure this will change quickly after this update. Mercy received the biggest nerf in this patch. Her ultimate charge cost got increased by 30%, and that has nothing to do with any self-healing ability balancing, because Mercy's self-healing passive still doesn't charge her ultimate. But this nerf was definitely necessary and also highly requested by the community. Resurrect was simply too powerful, so that Mercy was a must-have on a lot of maps. With the increased charge cost, I hope that you won't see it in every fight anymore and maybe gives room for other supports or even single support compositions. As a compensation, activating her ultimate doesn't prevent her from moving anymore, and her shift ability, Guardian Angel, instantly resets upon the use of Resurrect. So apparently Blizzard didn't like that Mercy players just flew over the battlefield and resurrected everyone to then simply die. We will see if these changes actually affect her death rate. MCCREE's Peacekeeper now maintains full damage at long distances, but will deal less damage at extreme ranges. This is a good change and will probably get him rid of the close-range brawler status and make him more of the mid-range shooter he was supposed to be. With this, MCCREE becomes a lot more powerful and he will become a popular pick again very soon. And last but not least, Soldier received a small nerf. The spread recovery of his rifle will now begin after a short delay rather than instantly. In a previous video on this channel, we actually discussed this mechanic. Soldier could completely reset his weapon spread without waiting if he fired in bursts of 4 shots. Well, not anymore. This will probably not affect most of his gameplay, but might make it a bit harder for him to deal with long-range targets. Overall, this patch will most likely stir up the support meta completely. With a new support hero added, Mercy nerfed and ZENYATTA buffed, support players now have a much bigger choice. We will see a lot more ZENYATTA and maybe a little less Mercy. Pharah and other long-range heroes got indirectly nerfed, which is a good thing. Since the Widowmaker nerf in the last patch, Pharah was just way too hard to deal with. Now we have another sniper who can fit nicely into the team composition as a support, we have a MCCREE buff and even ZENYATTA buffs, which will also lead to a harder time for Pharah. I don't think D.Va will replace one of the full tanks like Zarya or Reinhardt, but she might be a good off-tank pick, replacing some of the Roadhogs or Winstons out there. That's about it for these patch notes. There are some more smaller changes and bug fixes, so if you want to read through all changes and developer notes, you can find the link to it in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, let me know in the comments what you think about the changes. Thanks for watching, see you soon and stay beefy.